Yeah, I'm doing a video on my successes and failures of grafting stone fruit. I have mostly plum and cherry here. I do have a couple apricot and 2 contender peach. This one here you see is a cherry whip and tongue. The one behind it there is a plum. This one here in the front, that's a bark graft on a cherry. That one did not take. I have about 53 stone fruits out here. Of those, it looks like there's about 37 that have taken and 16 that have not so far. And roughly half of those 16 are ones like this one that I did a bark graft on. Now this one is pretty flimsy, so maybe that could have been partly the reason. Not sure. So I'll just go through and kind of show them here. So this row here is Evans cherry. The next row actually, before I get to the next row, this is another cherry. This is a cherry that the ants have really eaten the leaves on. I didn't get on that right away. I now got some bait traps out here. This row here, I have a cherry, Evans cherry. That one. This one here is one of my peach grafts. It's looking really healthy so far. That's apricot. That one's probably a plum. Wait, that's another apricot. And then we got a plum. Then there's my second peach. And then we got a couple more plum down there. This row here, these are all plum. Now this one's actually not the graft. That's actually, the graft did not take on that one. It's pretty small diameter scion. Here we have another row of plum. This is a row of cherry. That one's a bark graft. It did not take. That one's not taking. We got a couple more cherry there. And this last row here is also cherry. This row's all Evans cherry. These ones here not taking. That's a bark graft, another bark graft, another bark graft. Whip and tongue. That one actually is below the graft. That one's the graft. And that's a bark graft that did not take. And then I have a row of cherry that go this way that's partly doing okay. So I did these whip and tongue mostly, the ones that are taking. I counted, about 37 roughly that are taking. And almost all of those are the whip and tongue graft. I did them shortly after the rootstock woke up. I put the rootstock in my furnace room with an extra vent open, so it was about 70 to 80 degrees. And when the rootstock was starting to wake up, the buds starting to swell, I took the scion wood out of the fridge. I did my grafts, and then I put them in my back bedroom, which was at about 63 degrees. And some of the first grafts I did here were these peach and apricot, which are looking really, really healthy. So I'll show you some ones that I did quite a while after the rootstock woke up. The rootstock had already leafed out, and I'm not having such good luck with those ones. So I'm thinking that could be because the amount of time I waited after the rootstock woke up instead of grafting them right away. So I'll go show you those now. So these are Evans cherry that I grafted at some point after the rootstock had woken up, and not a single graft here is taking. So the ones I showed you outside, my take on those is about 70%. These ones, I mean, none of them are taking. And I had grafted these quite a while after the rootstock had woken up and actually had leafed out. So that could be why these haven't taken. They are putting up suckers, so I'll plan to plant them out and let suckers grow so the rootstock stays alive. Oh yeah, one thing Mr. Bob Purvis says is that you know, the stone fruits callus best at about 50 to 60 degrees. And that would be when you're, you know, spring grafting. There's also summer grafting when the leaves on the tree have gotten mature and developed a bud for next year underneath the current year's growth, for that you could summer graft that bud onto the rootstock. I'm sure that callusing temp would be different because that bud's dormant. But you know, for doing the whip and tongue or grafting onto dormant on the rootstock that's just waking up, just budding out, the callusing temp is about 50 to 60 degrees for these stone fruit. So, and these have been here for quite some time. I just grafted some apple recently. And apple's more forgiving on temperature, callusing, and just grafting in general. And these are starting to leaf out here good. So I'll have to get these planted out soon. All right, hope this helps. I'll do a demonstration of doing the whip and tongue graft that I use that's worked really well for me as a beginner.